steamrolled by the Democrats, but that's okay. We'll work out. I would like to say thank you to our speaker that we're going to be listening to tonight. She very graciously, we had a cancellation of the speaker, and she very graciously rearranged her schedule and made it possible to come and speak to us tonight. And when Lori called me and said, we got a problem, right immediately I said, I know who we can call, because this lady is a class act of anybody that I have ever known as long as I've been involved with the Republican Party. When I started working with the Federation, this lady was there in the trenches, and she was the one wearing the hat, and she's the one that inspired me to start wearing hats. So we're hat mates here. She said, when I came in today, she said, well, I'm glad to see somebody else with a hat on. But Mary Frances has worked tirelessly with the Federation of Republican Women. She's a parliamentarian, someone that whenever I've ever had a question or a problem or a battle with a parliamentary issue, Mary Frances was the one I'd call. Mary Frances was the one that gave me the advice, and I won every battle based on her advice. She doesn't let you down on that. There's just so many things I can say about her. She's such a nice, wonderful person, a classy lady. I've never seen her lose her temper. I mean, she's just cool. No matter what's going on, she just takes it in stride and goes right through, takes care of business, and gets things done. I'm sure she's worked a lot in her community, and all of you tonight, I've heard several mentions of Senator Forrester, and I agree with everything that's been said. An awesome man, a wonderful gentleman, a good, caring person, a person dedicated in what he was doing. And ladies and gentlemen, let me show you the lady right there that was responsible for Senator Forrester being that way. Because behind every good man, there's a wonderful woman, and I give her all the honor and credit for that. Let's give a big hand for Mary Frances.
Around the flag. I do appreciate your having me, and as I told Sandy, I don't stay home. Jim's mother told me when Jim's father died that the world gives you 3 days of grief. 3 days of bereavement, and then you get back in the march of life. You can carry your grief with you, and people will understand when you have moments that are difficult. But you just keep going on. And I don't stay at home. My children call and say, Mom, get out and go somewhere today. And I tried to do that. And when Sandy called me, I said, yes, I'll plan to be there, because I want to speak about the marriage amendment just a little bit, because Jim spent 17 years getting this amendment on the ballot. It started in 1995 when Hawaii was thinking about same-sex marriage, and he thought it was an important issue. He was a family man. And I will say that I did consider finishing his term, but there's no one that can fill Jim's shoes. They're going to have to be new shoes. And I worked very hard with the Concerned Women for America, which is located in Washington, D.C., which is the largest women's public policy organization in the nation. And I've organized CWA in North Carolina, and I've been working with them now for about 20 years. And so I have to find my way. And my direction might be just a little bit different. I am a candidate for the North Carolina Republican Committee Woman. That will be voted on in June. And I ask you for your support. I believe I will bring a lot to the table. I've been in the political process for 20 years with Jim. We were a great team. And I've recruited candidates. I raised more money in my county as the county party chair than has ever been raised. And I don't believe anyone has broken my record. I raised over $35,000 with in-kind contributions in the 2-year period. A lot of people don't understand what that committee woman's job is, but it is to raise money, and it is to help recruit candidates. And Jim and I did that. We mentored candidates. We have several senators and House members that were proteges that Jim mentored. I think he mentored every Senate candidate, new candidate, and emptied his pockets in the last election because he says, as long as the people let me stay, I'm going to be there until we get a majority. And he got to see that. And that's great. And with this marriage amendment, I think he's a little bit like Moses. He's at the promised land. He's just going to have to see it. Not exactly here, but from looking down. And the best way that anybody can honor Senator Forrester is to make sure that the May the 8th primary is a historic event. And that's what I tell everybody where I go. This has sort of impromptu. I didn't have a lot of time to think about what I was going to say, but I did want to say a couple of things. And I want to use a speech that I used at the rally last May that we had for, and I do have a copy of the bill, because the questions that I get mostly is how is it going to be on the ballot? What's it going to look like? So I do have copies of the Senate bill that you can see exactly what it says, and it tells you how it's going to be on the ballot so that you can share that with others. And there was one other thing that I had that actually came from the Family Policy Council, and why we felt like this was so important, and you can pass these around. You can see that in the South, North Carolina is the only state that does not have a constitutional amendment. And we are a target state because of that, as a sanctuary state. I will tell you that our computer, my personal computer, has been hacked. It has been hacked even since Jim's death. And that most of the harassment is coming from New York, California, and New Jersey. If you don't think they're not bringing in large opposition and lots of dollars, then think again, because they really are. Our daughter, who lives in California, told me, said, Mom, Daniel is 10 years old, came home today and said, Mom, I think I might be gay. And she said, well, Daniel, why do you say that? And he said, well, because my teacher said that I might be, and if I don't find out, I may never know. And this is what we're facing in our schools and in our rights to exercise our religious beliefs and traditional family values. And Jim was a family man. Jim never asked me to grow old with him. Jim asked me to be the mother of his children and to give him a family that he never had. If you ever ask him what the most valuable possession that he owned was, he said, citizenship in the United States and my family. So that's where he came from. So I'm going to speak a little bit about what I said, and I may have to read some of this, and I might not remember it, but it's short, and then I'll answer any questions, and I'm sure that Senator Daniel can do the same. You really don't need a speaker here tonight because you had such good speakers already, but I welcome the opportunity because I will continue to work. Concerned Women for America does a lot of pastor conferences, we call it from the pulpit to the public square, so that we can tell our traditional, our conservatives, and our Christian churches what they're allowed to do, because everybody is going to have to draw the line in the sand for this issue. We promote and defend traditional marriage as a core value. That's marriage between one man and one woman at the same time, at one time. This is the basis of the family unit in Western civilization for over 5,000 years. This gift of the family unit by our Creator comes with a responsibility to honor and protect the family unit as it was designed for the nature and the stability of our species. But let me be perfectly clear, traditionalists, conservatives, and Christians do not hate homosexuals. In fact, as Billy Graham says, and I've heard Jim say this many times, we love them more. Because we have the stats, the data, and the evidence showing the social and physical consequences of an unhealthy and unnatural lifestyle. To say that we hate them is just a misnomer propagated by the gay and lesbian community that says if you don't like the message, then you try to kill the messenger. Jim said many times the hateful dissent that he has received bothered him more because most of it was from hate-filled people. And he always reminded them to remember that harboring hate and anger is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. So we do not hate them, and that must be understood. So to ban gay marriage is also a misnomer because you can't ban something that does not exist. But we cannot stand by while a radical element of 2% of the population tries to destroy the universal definition of marriage and alter the course of civilization so that they can have special rights. Those rights they already have. They're in the Constitution. It says that all men are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And you can set up a household with anybody under any circumstances that you want. But the real issue is we do not want to redefine marriage for the social acceptance of a small minority. Radical homosexuals ask for these rights so that everyone can accept their lifestyle as wholesome and recognize their union as the same as of a man and a woman. Robert Knight in the Washington Times said it's not enough to love our friends and family who are homosexuals. We're being asked to love the behavior that threatens their bodies and souls. And I will refer you to the Gay and Lesbian website because Jim did this often. It's www.glma.org. And there's 2 documents on there. One says the top 10 things that gay men should discuss with their doctor, and the top 10 things that lesbians should discuss with their doctor. This deserves media attention because it tells us about a lifestyle that has numerous life-threatening conditions. It reduces the average lifespan by 20 years and makes one susceptible to lots of diseases. 1 in every 5 homosexual in our large cities is infected with HIV. The young practicing homosexuals that I speak to are amazed and wide-eyed with wonder when you tell them some of the consequences of their behavior. And homosexuality is not the equivalent of having a different skin color or ethnicity, therefore making it a civil right to be enforced against the will of others. The real battle is to preserve our freedom to practice our constitutional and religious rights to teach our children and our grandchildren to respect the traditional family values and not to allow government to erase that in the guise of tolerance. So we are being asked to subsidize and celebrate homosexuality with our tax dollars and to remain silent against our religious rights in school, business, medical care, churches, synagogues, but most important, the end of marriage. I think one of the best examples is in Scandinavia, which today, since they actually, marriage disappeared, there is no marriage anymore between man and woman, whether, or man and whatever. There is just an absence of marriage altogether. The World Congress of Families met in Mexico in 2004 with 3,200 participants from 79 nations. And they declared that traditional family was the fundamental unit of society. And so we have the world that sees this the same way. William Tyler Page said in the American Creed that our government is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. whose just powers are derived from the consent of the governed